The last defense. The quantum drive's steady hum reverberated through the USS Aegis as Captain Sarah Chen studied the holographic display dominating the bridge's forward section. Her dark eyes narrowed at the mass of red indicators swarming at the edge of the solar system. Each point of light represented an alien vessel, and there were thousands. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of 20 years in Earth's Space Defense Force. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements precise despite the growing tension. Commander David Rivera looked up from his tactical station, his normally jovial face grim. "The Titan base on Saturn's moon has gone dark, Captain. Mars' defense grid is offline. We're getting scattered distress calls from the outer colonies." He paused, swallowing hard. "We're all that stands between them and Earth." The Aegis represented humanity's greatest achievement in military technology. Built in secret over 15 years, she carried experimental weapons systems that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Her quantum core could manipulate space-time itself, though the full extent of its capabilities remained untested. The ship's 300 crew members were the finest Earth had to offer, but they had never faced odds like this. "Dr. Patel, what's your analysis of their movement patterns?" Sarah asked, addressing the ship's lead scientist. The Indian physicist had spent the last hour analyzing the alien fleet's behavior. "It's fascinating, Captain," Dr. Patel replied, her fingers dancing across her holographic interface. "They move with perfect synchronization, suggesting some form of collective consciousness. But there's more." She projected a new set of data streams. Their ships aren't just coordinated, they're interconnected. They share energy, processing power, even weapon systems. They're essentially one massive organism. The ship's AI, designated ARIA, spoke through the bridge speakers. "Confirmed. Analysis suggests their quantum neural network allows instant communication across their entire fleet. However, this level of integration may present exploitable vulnerabilities." Sarah moved to the center of the bridge, her mind racing through possibilities. The alien fleet's approach had caught Earth's defenses off guard. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, their numbers overwhelming. But humanity hadn't survived countless challenges by giving up when the odds seemed impossible. "Dr. Patel, work with ARIA. I want to know everything about their quantum network." Commander Rivera, prepare defensive scenarios. Lieutenant Park, plot multiple escape vectors, but keep us between that fleet and Earth. She turned to face her crew. "We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't: human ingenuity and the willingness to try the impossible." A sudden alert cut through the bridge's tension. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Lieutenant Park announced, "They're launching their first wave, 100 ships, moving in perfect formation." Sarah returned to her command chair, her posture straight, her expression determined. "All hands, battle stations, engineering, divert power to forward shields. Weapons, stand by." She watched as the alien vessels approached, their dark hulls absorbing light like cosmic predators. "Let's show them why humanity survived every challenge we've ever faced." The first shots streaked across space, brilliant beams of energy that could vaporize conventional ships instantly. But the Aegis was anything but conventional. Her quantum shields flickered and held, dispersing the energy across multiple dimensions. "Shields at 90%. Rivera reported. "Their weapons are powerful, but the quantum dispersion is working." "Return fire," Sarah ordered. "Multiple targeting solutions. Let's see how they handle unpredictability." The Aegis's main guns roared to life, each shot guided by both human intuition and AI precision. The alien ships moved to evade, their formation shifting like a school of fish. But where most of their shots missed, several found their marks. 3 alien vessels erupted in silent explosions. "They're adapting," Dr. Patel warned. "The entire fleet is updating their tactical algorithms based on our attack pattern." Sarah nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Then we'll give them more data than they can process. ARIA, Begin implementing random variations in our shield frequency. Engineering, prepare for emergency quantum core modulation. We're not just going to fight them. We're going to overload their entire network. As the rest of the alien fleet approached, the crew of the Aegis prepared for the battle of their lives. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1, facing technology they barely understood. But throughout human history, some of the greatest victories had come when defeat seemed certain. Sarah Chen intended to add another chapter to that legacy. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's future hung in the balance. But on the bridge of the USS Aegis, determination outweighed fear. They would find a way to win. They had to. Because that's what humans did best. They faced the impossible, and they found a way to prevail. The heart of innovation. The Aegis shuddered as another volley of alien fire struck its quantum shields. In engineering, Chief Engineer Maya Rodriguez braced herself against the quantum core's containment chamber, her eyes fixed on the fluctuating energy readings. Something about the aliens' attacks was different. They weren't just trying to break through the shields. They were probing them, learning. "Captain, you need to see this," Maya called through the ship's comm. On her display, the quantum core's energy signature pulsed in an unusual pattern. The massive cylinder of swirling energy that powered their ship wasn't just defending against the attacks, it was responding to them. Dr. Patel's voice joined the conversation. "The alien fleet's quantum network, it's trying to synchronize with our core frequency. They're attempting to integrate us into their collective." Captain Chen's response was immediate. "Can we use that against them?" "Maybe," Maya said, her mind racing through possibilities. "But we'd need to modify the core's containment protocols. It's risky. We'd be deliberately creating quantum instabilities." The ship rocked again. Shields at 60%. Commander Rivera's voice carried through the comm. "We've lost the port sensor array. They're adapting faster than we can respond." Sarah Chen's voice remained steady. "Dr. Patel, Maya, you have 10 minutes to give me a solution. Whatever it takes." Maya turned to her engineering team. "Listen up. We're going to attempt something that violates about a dozen safety protocols. I need the quantum core's containment field reconfigured to allow controlled feedback loops." As her team rushed to work, Maya connected with ARIA. "Run simulations on quantum resonance patterns. If their network is trying to sync with us, let's give them something they can't process." In the science lab, Dr. Patel's fingers flew across her holographic interface. ARIA cross-referenced the alien fleet's communication frequencies with our quantum core's harmonic patterns. "Look for overlapping wavelengths we can exploit." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Warning alerts flashed as the alien fleet pressed their attack, their coordinated strikes growing more precise with each passing moment. The Aegis's automated repair systems struggled to keep pace with the mounting damage. "They're launching another wave," Rivera warned. "Multiple vectors. They're trying to box us in." Maya's team worked frantically, rerouting power conduits and modifying containment protocols. The quantum core's usual steady blue glow began to pulse with increasing intensity, casting strange shadows through engineering. "Captain," Maya called out, "we've got something. The aliens' quantum network, it's not just for communication. They're sharing processing power, energy, everything. Their entire fleet functions like a single distributed system." Dr. Patel cut in, excitement in her voice. "And that's their weakness. Their network requires perfect quantum synchronization. If we can generate the right kind of quantum interference, we could disrupt their entire command and control structure." Sarah finished. "What do you need?" Maya took a deep breath. "We need to invert the quantum core's containment field. Instead of keeping energy in, we'll project it out. Create a quantum disruption wave tuned to their network frequency." "The risks?" Sarah asked. "Best case, we overload their network, break their coordination. Worst case, we tear a hole in space-time and destroy ourselves in the process." Through the bridge viewport, the alien fleet's advance continued. Their dark ships moved with mechanical precision, each maneuver calculated to maximize their advantage. They were closing in for the kill. "Do it," Sarah ordered. Maya's hands flew across her console, implementing the modifications. The quantum core's hum changed pitch, rising to a frequency that made everyone's teeth ache. Warning indicators flashed red as the ship's systems registered the growing instabilities. "Quantum disruption wave forming," Araya announced. "Caution, containment field approaching critical threshold." The alien fleet seemed to sense something was wrong. Their perfect formation wavered as the first ripples of quantum interference reached them. Several ships broke ranks, their movements becoming erratic. "It's working," Dr. Pyle exclaimed. "Their network is trying to compensate, but the disruption is spreading." Maya watched her readings with growing concern. The quantum core's energy levels were spiking dangerously. Hairline fractures began appearing in the containment chamber's walls. "Captain, we need to act now. The core won't hold much longer." Sarah's voice carried across all ship channels. "All hands, brace for impact. Maya, give them everything we've got. Let's show these aliens what happens when they push humanity into a corner." The quantum core's glow became blindingly bright. Maya initiated the final sequence, and the Aegis unleashed its desperate gambit against the overwhelming alien force. The battle's outcome would depend on whether human ingenuity could triumph over alien technological superiority, and whether the ship could survive its own desperate strategy. Counter-strike. Space itself seemed to bend around the Aegis as the quantum disruption wave expanded outward. The alien fleet's perfect formation shattered as ships began moving erratically, their synchronized movements dissolving into chaos. But the victory came at a terrible price. Multiple hull breaches. Commander Rivera shouted over the sound of screaming metal. Structural integrity failing on decks 3 through 7. Captain Chen gripped her command chair as the ship bucked violently. Emergency force fields flickered to life throughout the vessel, containing the damage but draining precious power from their already strained systems. "Maya, status of the quantum core," Sarah demanded. The chief engineer's voice was strained. "Critical, Captain. The containment field is barely holding. We've got microfractures spreading through the chamber walls." The sound of emergency klaxons blared in the background. "If we don't stabilize it soon, we'll tear ourselves apart." On the main display, the effects of their desperate gambit became clear. Hundreds of alien vessels drifted out of formation, their quantum network disrupted by the Aegis's attack. But others were already adapting, their collective consciousness restructuring itself to compensate for the damage. "Dr. Patel, analysis," Sarah ordered. "The disruption worked, but they're already establishing backup networks," the scientist reported. "We forced them to split into smaller, isolated groups. They can't coordinate as effectively, but they're still dangerous." Araya's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Warning, enemy vessels are reforming into attack clusters. Detecting power surges consistent with weapons charging." Sarah's mind raced through options. They'd struck a significant blow, but the Aegis was wounded and vulnerable. The alien fleet might be disorganized, but they still outnumbered the human ship hundreds to one. "Lieutenant Park, get us some maneuvering room," she commanded. "Rivera, target any ships showing signs of coordinating the others. Dr. Patel, work with Araya to track their network restructuring. We need to keep them divided." The Aegis's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel through the debris field of destroyed alien ships. Their quantum disruption had created a temporary advantage, but time was running out. "Maya, I need options for the quantum core," Sarah said. "Can we stabilize it?" "Working on it, Captain," Maya replied. "But there's something else." The core's interaction with their network revealed something unexpected. These aliens, they're not just connected. They're afraid. Dr. Patel's voice carried sudden excitement. "She's right. Their network patterns, they're not just tactical. I'm detecting complex emotional signatures. When we disrupted their connection, There was a spike in fear response across the entire fleet. Sarah leaned forward. Explain. They rely on their collective consciousness for everything, Dr. Patel continued. Being forced into smaller groups, having to think and act independently, it terrifies them. They've never faced an enemy that could break their unity. A plan began forming in Sarah's mind. So we didn't just attack their tactical network, we attacked their psychological foundation. Incoming, Rivera warned. Multiple attack groups converging on our position. The alien vessels that had recovered from the disruption were advancing, but their movements were different now. Gone was the perfect, machine-like precision. Their formations were tighter, more defensive, as if they were huddling together for security. Maya, can we generate another disruption wave? Sarah asked. The core won't survive another full-power burst, Maya warned. But we might be able to manage something smaller, more focused. Do it. Dr. Patel, help engineering calibrate the wave to target their emotional responses. If they're afraid of being alone, let's give them something to really fear. The Aegis turned to face the approaching alien ships, its damaged hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. They had discovered the enemy's true weakness, not their technology or their numbers, but their inability to cope with isolation. All hands, Sarah broadcast shipwide, prepare for close-quarters combat. We're going to split their remaining groups apart and take them down one by one. They wanted to test humanity's strength. Let's show them what we can do when we're pushed to the edge. The quantum core's hum changed pitch again as Maya's team prepared their modified attack. Around the Aegis, the alien fleet approached like a swarm of angry insects, their weapons charging. But this time, the human crew knew something their enemies didn't, that sometimes the strongest warriors weren't those who fought as one, but those who could stand alone. The battle was far from over, but they had found their edge. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. As Sarah watched the enemy approach, she felt a fierce pride in her crew's resilience and creativity. The aliens had expected to face a primitive, inferior species. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to turn apparent weakness into unexpected victory. Breaking point. Warning lights bathed the Aegis's bridge in crimson as Captain Sarah Chen watched another group of alien vessels break formation under their targeted quantum attacks. The victory was bitter. Each burst from their modified core brought them closer to catastrophic failure. Hull breach on Deck 5. Lieutenant Park reported, his hands dancing across the helm controls. Emergency containment fields are holding, but we're losing power to the starboard weapon arrays. Maya's voice crackled through the damaged comm system. Captain, the quantum core's containment is failing. These microbursts are buying us time, but we're running out of options. The chamber walls won't take much more stress. Sarah studied the tactical display, watching as the alien fleet struggled to maintain cohesion. Their larger battle groups had fractured into smaller clusters, each trying to maintain their precious neural connection, while avoiding the Aegis's disruption attacks. But there were still hundreds of them, and they were learning. Dr. Patel, what's the status of their network recovery? Sarah asked. They're adapting, the scientist replied, frustration evident in her voice. Each time we disrupt a group, the others adjust their quantum frequencies. They're developing resistance to our attacks. Commander Rivera's tactical station erupted with new alerts. Multiple enemy groups coordinating. They're forming a containment pattern around us. The main view screen showed alien vessels moving to surround the Aegis, maintaining careful distances from each other to minimize the effect of any quantum disruption. They were learning to balance their need for connection against their vulnerability to the human ship's attacks. They're not just adapting tactically, Dr. Patil announced, studying her readings. The emotional spikes are changing. The fear response is being suppressed. Their collective consciousness is evolving in real time. Araya's voice carried an unusual note of urgency. Warning. Detecting power surges across multiple enemy vessels. Energy patterns suggest preparation for a synchronized attack. Sarah's mind raced through options. They'd bloody the alien fleet, shown them that humanity wouldn't fall easily, but now they were out of tricks. The quantum core was failing, their weapons were damaged, and the enemy had adapted to their only effective strategy. "Maya," she called, "give me something. Anything." The chief engineer was quiet for a moment, only the sound of emergency alerts filling the channel. "There might be one option left," she finally said, "but it's worse than crazy. It's probably suicide. At this point, I'll take it. We can't generate enough power for another large-scale disruption," Maya explained, "but we can reverse the quantum containment field completely, turn the core inside out." Dr. Patel gasped. The spatial distortions would be catastrophic. We'd be creating a temporary quantum singularity. "Exactly," Maya continued. "One massive burst that would tear a hole in space-time itself. It would destroy us, but it would take a big chunk of their fleet with us. Maybe give Earth a fighting chance against the survivors." Sarah stood from her command chair, walking to the forward viewport. The alien ships surrounding them were like dark stars, their weapons charging for what they surely thought would be the killing blow. They had expected an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they'd found an enemy willing to die to protect their home. But Sarah Chen hadn't survived 20 years in the Space Defense Force by accepting no-win scenarios. "Maya, if we channeled all remaining power to the structural integrity fields at the moment of reversal, could we survive the initial blast?" "Maybe, but we'd be completely vulnerable afterward. No weapons, no shields, not even life support. We'd be dead in space." Sarah smiled grimly. "But we'd be alive, and they'd be scattered, their network shattered by the quantum backwash. A few minutes might be all Earth needs to launch a counterattack." The alien vessels began moving into their final attack positions. Their fear had been replaced by cold determination. Their collective consciousness focused on eliminating the troublesome human ship that had dared to challenge their superiority. "All hands," Sarah broadcast shipwide. "This is the captain. In about 2 minutes, we're either going to make history or become part of it. Either way, I want you to know how proud I am of this crew. We've shown these aliens something they've never seen before, the human spirit. Now we're going to show them one last thing, how far we'll go to protect our home." She returned to her chair, strapping in as alerts continued to blare throughout the ship. "Maya, begin core reversal sequence. Dr. Patel, calculate the minimum safe distance we need to survive the blast. Lieutenant Park, plot us a course that'll put as many enemy ships as possible within the blast radius." The quantum core's usual smooth hum transformed into a rising shriek as Maya's team began the dangerous process of inverting its containment field. Throughout the ship, crew members secured themselves at their stations, each facing what might be their final moments with determination rather than fear. "Enemy vessels launching final attack run," Rivera reported. Sarah Chen gripped her command chair, her voice steady as she gave what might be her last order. "Take us into the heart of their formation. If we're going to make a mess of space-time, let's make it count. Humanity prevails." Space itself screamed as the Aegis's quantum core inverted. Reality twisted around the ship, the fabric of space-time warping under forces it was never meant to contain. Captain Sarah Chen watched the tactical display through eyes that burned from the otherworldly energies flooding the bridge, her hand steady on the command console despite the violent shuddering of the ship. "Core inversion at 70%. Maya's voice was barely audible over the deafening shriek of tortured physics. "Containment field is collapsing. We've got maybe 30 seconds before total failure." The alien fleet's synchronized attack faltered as the first waves of quantum distortion reached them. Their perfect formation wavered as ships began experiencing the effects of localized space-time anomalies. Multiple enemy vessels showing critical power fluctuations, Commander Rivera reported. "Their quantum network is destabilizing across all frequencies." Dr. Patel's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, the spatial distortions are exponentially increasing. The blast radius will be larger than we calculated. Structural integrity failing. Lieutenant Park shouted. Hull breaches on multiple decks. Sarah's mind raced. Their desperate gambit was working, perhaps too well. The quantum singularity they were creating would tear apart the alien fleet, but it might also destroy the Aegis and her crew. They needed something else, one last card to play. Araya, she called out. Analyze the quantum distortion pattern. Is there any way to direct it, to control where the worst of the effect hits? The ship's AI processed for a fraction of a second. Affirmative. The singularity's gravitational profile can be influenced by modulating our remaining shield harmonics. However, precise control would require manual adjustments. The radiation levels in engineering are beyond human tolerance. I'll do it. Maya's voice was firm. The control circuits are in my section. I can reach them. Maya, no. Sarah started, but the engineer cut her off. With respect, Captain, we've got one shot at this. The calculations need to be perfect, and I'm the only one who can do it in time. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command. Do it. Around the Aegis, space continued to distort. Alien vessels caught in the effect began to break apart, their quantum networks shattering under forces they were never designed to withstand. But others were adapting, desperately trying to coordinate a retreat. Core inversion at 90%. Dr. Patil announced. Quantum cascade reaction imminent. In engineering, Maya worked with desperate speed, her hands flying over the control circuits as lethal radiation levels rose around her. Each adjustment had to be precise, each calculation perfect. The fate of the ship, of Earth itself, depended on it. Shield harmonics aligned, she reported, her voice growing weaker. Ready to channel the quantum cascade. The alien fleet's remaining command nodes finally recognized the true threat. Their retreat became a rout as ships broke formation entirely, their collective consciousness fragmenting under the combined stress of spatial distortion and absolute terror. Now, Maya, Sarah ordered. Give it everything. Maya input the final sequence, her consciousness fading as the radiation took its toll. The quantum core's inverted energy erupted outward in a precisely directed wave, tearing through space like a divine hand reaching out to crush their enemies. The effect was beyond anything they had imagined. Hundreds of alien vessels caught in the wave's path simply ceased to exist, their matter scattered across multiple dimensions. Others, their quantum networks completely severed, spun out of control, colliding with each other in their panic to escape. Enemy fleet is breaking up, Rivera reported, triumph in his voice. They're running. Maya, Sarah called out. Maya, report. Silence answered her. Then ARIA spoke. Medical team en route to engineering. Chief Engineer Rodriguez's life signs are critical but stable. Emergency radiation protocols in effect. The bridge crew watched in awe as the remnants of the alien fleet fled in disarray. Where there had been perfect coordination, now there was only chaos. Where there had been overwhelming force, now there was retreat. Captain, Dr. Patil said softly, we're detecting quantum communications from the surviving enemy vessels. They're broadcasting a warning to their homeworld. About us. Sarah stood, despite the ship's continued shuddering. What kind of warning? They're saying. Dr. Patil paused, reading the translated signal. They're saying that humans are too dangerous to fight. That we don't think like them, don't fight like them. That we're willing to break the laws of physics itself to win. Sarah smiled grimly. Well, they're not wrong. Begin damage control procedures. Get Maya to medical, and I want repair teams on the quantum core as soon as it's safe. I have a feeling Earth will want to know how we managed this. As the Aegis's emergency systems worked to stabilize the damaged ship, the crew began to realize the full magnitude of what they had accomplished. One ship against 1,000, and they had won, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through human ingenuity, determination, and the willingness to attempt the impossible. In the ship's medical bay, Maya Rodriguez opened her eyes to see her captain standing beside her bed. "Did we do it?" she asked weakly. Sarah took her hand. "We did more than win a battle, Maya. We showed them something they'd never seen before, the true strength of humanity. And I have a feeling they won't forget it anytime soon." As the Aegis limped back toward Earth, its quantum core slowly stabilizing, its crew battered but unbowed, the message of their victory spread across human space. They had faced impossible odds and emerged triumphant, proving once again that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or their weapons, but in their indomitable spirit and their ability to achieve the impossible through sheer determination and creativity. The aliens had come expecting an easy conquest. They left with a lesson about why humanity had survived every challenge they'd ever faced, because they never, ever gave up.